hang on, that cue me. Ladies and gentlemen, for those in attendance and for the millions around the world, are you ready for the podcast? We've got to come up with a little bit better thing rather than the podcast. But anyway, what are we? Podcast 5.
Cool, number 5.
I think it's 5.
Number 5.
Still going, still doing it. Cool. All right, guys. Well, the weather's been pretty bad this week, so as you can imagine, there's a lot of different sort of reports coming at you, but some people still manage to get out, which is awesome. So, yeah, good on them.
Yeah, absolutely. Kudos. Tipping a hat to a particular legend who managed to get a little bit, assumed it was rained on, taking a little bit of fishing up in the north. The beautiful man, Dylan.
Yeah, well, I tried to, I went and chased, so last weekend had the Sea Runner comp, the weekend before that had the Sea Runner comp at Derwin, and didn't do too well as we touched over. I caught bream, but didn't find many trout, so I thought, screw it, I'll have a crack in Lonnie, so I went, chased Sea Runners, obviously, in the Tamar, around, your north-esque, your south-esque, and it was questionable, the fact that it was about 65k winds and 20 mil, 30 mil of rain. But no, I went out, and my thought process behind it was the gorge and the north-esque river were flowing really hard, obviously, because we've had so much rain drop down them. And in a lot of your west coast systems, you'll find good fish in that flow. So I thought, I might go throw some big lures and stuff like that in the gorge and see if I can't find anything, which I had a few hits and a bit of interest, but we didn't manage anything. But I reckon a few people on the sidelines walking up and down the gorge looking at the floods would have had a bit of a laugh to see a black tinny just in about 100, I don't even know how much. I would hate to guess how many litres of water was pumping down that gorge, but it was flowing fast. It was like there was swell on there, like the I don't even know what the term for it would be when you've got water flowing that fast. It just rolls. And it was trying to cast, and it felt like I was off the front. Something like that. Yeah, you heard it here first. It was... It was just like the gorge whenever it floods, especially in 2022, was just a sight to see. And I thought, screw it. I've got nothing better to do the weekend. It's rain, wind everywhere. There's no footy on. I can't sit home and watch the footy. So I thought, screw it. I'm going to get out and go chase. And yeah, no luck. But it was quite funny to put the boat on, get home, and look on Facebook. And the first thing I saw when I turned on Facebook was Hydro closed all the boat ramps around the state. And I'm pretty sure the tail race, since it's obviously power station going through underneath it, is a hydro boat ramp. So yeah, they would have been nice if they put that up the night before, because then I probably wouldn't have gone and got saturated and caught bugger all. But yeah.
That's right, boat safety first.
Absolutely.
I was just going to say, I don't think we're going to advocate fishing small tinnies on floodwaters on the podcast, but your thinking there, I can see, is reasonably sound, and a lot of people are trying to sort of replicate that West Coast floodwater fishery with the whitebait, probably a little bit early. Like you could do it at the Forth at Paloona, so the Forth River goes up to a dam, up into, and that's a real focal point. So the migratory species of whitebait will just keep going until they can't go anymore. Now, obviously, with the man-made dams, particularly down the west coast, they get to a point where they just ball up, and that's why the trout really go to that spot and feed hard. Not only that, but not only that, there's the eels, and there's those little elvers that are in there, and there's some train of thought too that when it's flowing and they're still making power, that some of those fish and eels get churned up by the actual making of power, and that's also why the fish are coming up there to feed on that. I don't know whether that's a fact. I might check into that. I'll make a little note and work out if that is in fact the case, but I've heard that a great deal, that some fish get munched up or eels get munched up. But the whitebait, definitely. They have got this little thing in their brainios, millions of years. They swim up as far as they can, and they get to a dam, and there's lots and lots. And you can even, when the water recedes quickly, you can be up there and there'll be whitebait. You can put your hand in the pools of the water between the rocks, and you can lift up whitebait, and you can get down there sometimes when the water's been awake for quite some time and they're just dead there drying out in the sun. So it's pretty trippy. I'm not sure whether you're going to recreate that sort of concentrated effort of whitebait where you're saying, but it's definitely worth a try.
Yeah, because there's there's a big rapid at the end, because you've got the basin, and then you've got the bottom little rapid, and then underneath it, it's just a nice big deep, and you look at it on the sounder, it's just rocks, big rocks on the bottom. It's like 10 meters deep. So I thought, screw it, I'd have a crack, because I mean there was nothing else I was going to do. But yeah, like you say, it was probably just a little bit too early. Plus also the fact that there was so much water going down, like it was more than any power station that I've seen down the west coast. If there was any there, they would have probably got pushed back a little bit. So, but yeah, no, it's definitely interesting, and it just got me thinking, about like why they could be there or why they wouldn't be there. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good theory, for sure.
That might lead me into a little bit of a, well, not really a segue, it's actually a continuation of the trout talk. I've had Rob from Inland Fisheries send me some more info. He's currently in a position where he's able to send me some info. So he also mentioned the weather. He said the weather, to say the least, has not been very fish or fisher friendly. But he has said super keen anglers that hit the west coast would probably be best to leave that until the weather improves. But there were some down there, and I did see some pictures of some people that took some fish. Again, Lake Plimsoll, we're probably getting a little bit of Lake Plimsoll overload, but it's still very popular. And he also said a nearby Lake Salina has also been fairly fished substantially over the last few weeks, and it's also been stocked substantially over the last few years. And there should be enough bookies there to sustain catch rates throughout the season. So that's good. We don't need to rush back there when the weather is on the improve. He said while the reports over the past week have been limited, and I think we all know why, because of the weather, he said the Pet Reservoir is still producing small fat rainbow trout with all methods working well. His Four Springs is still giving up both brown and rainbow trout, and while catch rates this season have been a little below previous seasons, the size and condition of the fish have been great. With all that rain though, that system, that little catchment should pick up, and I imagine as that does pick up, with that water rising, drowning a worm off the dam wall or the eastern shore will be a good way to catch a fish if you get a tight arm from throwing lures. And Curry's River Reserve has been quiet, but stocking of this water has been fairly consistent, so it's worth the extra time and effort to give it a try. One fishery that he mentions doesn't get much effort is Camden Dam. Now, I don't know, Dylan, have you fished Camden Dam at all?
I fished it, oh God, it'd be twice. I fished it once when it was high and once when it was low. When it's high, it's a bit of a stretch to sort of fish it, because it's like pretty rugged territory, I suppose you could say. Look, it's not that bad, but in some places it's not the friendliest for walking around the bank, because obviously you can't take a boat or anything onto Camden. Like, you can take kayaks, but so yeah, done all right when it was high. When it's lower, it's not too bad, especially if you got waders on, because you can, like, it's sort of a muddy bank. You can walk out and walk around and fish a lot of places. It's the same thing. It's like not somewhere you hear huge numbers of fish come from, but people will go there and get a couple and what will be 2 to 3 pound mark. So there's always good fish coming out of Camden, it seems.
Cool bananas. And I only ask you because you're Lonnie based, and it's about 40 minutes east of Launceston. There's been a few reports of some bigger fish being caught over the last few weeks in there, and the fly fishers, like you say, the way that bank system is, the fly fishers do quite well down there, and they've been mentioning fish to 1.5 kilograms, and another one that was bigger again. So that's pretty interesting. Now on the way to the east coast, Lake Leak. Now there's a lake that will benefit from the rain. Lake Leak always fires up when the rain picks up, because that lake gets drawn down over winter. One, because of the irrigation further on, but also there was some repairs done to the dam, I believe. So with the lake now coming up, the brown trout will be sneaking around the edges, especially where the water is running in. I think we've mentioned that before anywhere, whether it be a lake, dam or river, where that water's running in is a place to concentrate. So this is where the worms will be washing in, the trout will be looking for a pretty easy feed, and soft plastics and wet flies will bring a few fish undone. Now we mentioned rivers. With all the rain, especially on the northwest, the rivers are breaking their banks and spilling into the drains and ditches and adjacent paddocks, so that's like the top end of the Mersey. Once that slows down a little bit, the upper reaches of Ulverstone in and around Guns Plains, that's that area to drown a worm, and that's pretty good fun fishing down there. What else you got to say? Oh, and the Highlands. Let's not forget the Highlands, of course. Unless you're those mad 13 idiots that were up on Mount Wellington, I would suggest that most people with half a clue would not have been up in the Highlands expecting to wander around fishing, but many of the shallow lakes will be flooding into surrounding shorelines, and the brown trout will be frolicking like crazy in that shallow water, looking for drowned worms, grubs, snails and spiders. So, Dylan, have you got a spider lure?
Don't. That's the one thing.
No spider lure?
No, like we touched on earlier, I very much a top water. I've just avoided it. Like, it's something that I've never really touched part onto. It's definitely something that I could look into, but yeah, I suppose like compared to your hard body lures, that a natural, like a spider and something like that on the surface is still natural food, but like you see trout eat bait fish lures on and on and on and on compared to the one person that's gone out and caught one on a spider with, I don't even know what colour you'd throw for a spider, radioactive spider in Great Lake or something like that.
Challenging, I'd say, mate.
Mm.
So
Got it.
the fly fishing side of things for mine is a bit of like a knack, and it's a bit like certain things that have got knacks associated to them. If you don't have early success or have a bit of a natural talent, it can be a bit of a struggle to fly fish. A bit like surfing. If you don't catch any decent waves and you spend the first couple of weekends being pounded in the shore break and not getting very far at all, you pretty much give up surfing. So it can be the same for fly fishing, but for both activities, I'd say persevere and get online and get on YouTube and learn how to do both, because they're great fun activities and you shouldn't be disparaged. What's that word? Disparaged? Disparaged will do. It might be even safer. I won't spit on my computer by saying, yeah, asparagus. You shouldn't be asparagus. Yeah. And so, yeah, the fly fishing, I used to do a little bit of fly fishing. I used to do a little bit of fly fishing, but I never really got into it. It is a pastime that you can go down a rabbit hole with all the lines, weight forwards and shooting tapers and certain knots for leaders and all your different leaders, and then you open that can of worms, pardon the pun, which is fly tying, and that can be immensely satisfying, tying a fly that you've caught and then caught a fish on. I did it a couple of times as a kid, and my fly fishing really took off. I was fishing a dam at the back of my mum and dad's house. A farmer would have that stock back like they did back in the day, like inland fisheries stocked a lot of dams all around the northwest coast and probably around the rest of the state. But you don't see that so much anymore. But there was some really nice fish in the dam, and I'd read a magazine about a red tag, and a red tag fly is pretty easy to tie. And I tied this horrible looking red tag that looks just like a full mess. Looked like something you'd find down behind the couch, to be honest. Anyway, I threw this thing. Actually, I tied 3 or 4 of them, and I threw this thing, and I fished for about 10 minutes, and then realised, well, I'd snapped the fly off by not letting my back cast straighten out long enough, and tied another one on. That was back when I had good eyesight and I could do it in the low light. And it was just so enjoyable to see those rising trout, trying to work out which way it was moving and to get that red tag that I tied myself. And this fish must have been drunk, and it sucked down this poorly tied fly on a bait hook, mind you, like all the very fancy hooks that you can buy for fly tying. And here I am, I've just got the smallest bait holder hook and some black cotton and some bits and pieces and some fuzz and a few. I can't even remember what I put in the tail now. Bit of fluff of mum's wool for the red tag bit, and caught myself a trout on it. So that was pretty cool. But I don't do any fly fishing much anymore. But we digress. But there is a little bit here about fly fishing. Look, if the water temps are not too low, you should see fish tailing. So a well-placed wet fly or a nymph pattern should see a few fish in the bag. Waters to consider are Arthur's Lake, Little Pine Lagoon, Pine Tier Dam and Bronte Lagoon. So thank you very much to Rob Freeman for that report. Very much appreciated.
Good man. All right. We've had a few reports been sent in recently, so we're going to run you through those, guys. What do we got there? Stephen Taylor sent me a photo a little bit earlier in the week. Took his mate Andy out for a fish to see if he could get his first trout. And he said it was one of the northeast rivers or lakes up there somewhere. He wouldn't tell me exactly where, so it's his little secret honey hole. But he absolutely smashed it. So good job on a black and gold olive green soft, sorry, not black and gold, an olive green soft plastic. He says one in low and slow.
It's the way to do it, mate. Low and slow. If you're doing brisket or you're fishing, it's low and slow.
The
reason why they work.
Would you low and slow a trout? I don't know.
That's another discussion. Rightio, what about Josh Ward? Bringing in some bream from Margate. Cracking 45 centimetres. Bream from Margate on the green soft plastic.
So is that a bream or a brim?
I don't know. I'm seeing bream. I imagine it's brim.
Close enough. Same sort of just depends what comes.
Yeah. Tomato.
Actually, Josh came into the shop earlier in the week, and it was the weather was absolutely atrocious. And he said to me, "So where am I going to go?" He said, "I can't go down the Huon, can't go on the Derwent, can't go up the Jordan and smash brim like he's been doing for ages." And I said to him, "Why'd you go down to Margate and just fish the little river that's down behind the Bowls Club in Margate?" He said, "Yeah, right. That sounds like a good idea."
What a hoot.
10 minutes later, he goes in there, 45 centimetres to the fork brim. Absolute PB of a lifetime. A lot of people go for 20 years trying to catch one that big, and he's got one in 10 minutes. So
what a chap!
That's it.
Round of applause for me. That's
Hats off to the man. Absolutely. Cool. Jarvis Smith has been fishing crazy like he has been all season. He's a nice brown trout from the old faithful Berkeley black and gold Tito. The quality fish are coming out at night time, and that's what he's been doing plenty of. I'll do this one.
Yeah, go on, man.
Michael Strange. Some guys might remember Michael Strange as the winner of our Stella in our first week of stuff. He was absolutely ecstatic. He said, took my wife and son for a drive up to lakes to see how much snow had chucked in up there. He said, went up there, a bit of a fish around. Said it was blowing hard. It was absolutely freezing, and he managed to christen his Stella. So he's a particularly happy little fella when it comes to that.
No better segment.
Except to say the reel was amazing. And you'll like this one, Dylan. He caught it on a Fishing Australia 63.
Oh, there you go.
I heard. I got a photo, and he was a very happy boy.
No, good on him. Top bloke. Cool. Then we're looking on to Jason Sharon. That's not one of those bream ones, is it?
It's not a bream one like that.
Shireen. No. All right, Jason Sharon. Just a couple of fish from a 2-hour session of fall spring Sunday before the storm hit. One on pot scrubber and the other on an orange beaded Magoo.
So that's their flies in case you weren't.
Yeah, I'll sing him on Mr. Magoo. He's a classic. But if you're going to do it right.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Yeah. Saltwater. Not a lot of reports coming through the salt strategy enough. Who'd have thought it? But a couple of things I did get told by a few people. Cockle Creek's got some epic big salmon kicking around down there, Aussie salmon. So if you're down there and the weather's fined up a little bit, good size Aussie salmon. Some of these things are like 3 or 4 pounds, so they're good fish sort of stuff they serve up the east coast normally. A couple of the boys said they were getting some decent sized flatties down there too. Well, everything 36, 37 centimetre flats. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That was about all we had in saltwater reports. I did read something during the week, and I sensed through the boys a bit of a discussion about it. This is not Tassie, but up north there's a bit of a thing going on where they're going to start looking at in some of the barren impoundments. They're going to start putting trevally in there, like little GTs and stuff like that. Supposedly they'll survive in there, no worries at all. And there's obviously a bit of a hurrah. Some people all absolutely want to go GT popping in the middle of a dam, and some people are like, nah, keep them out, they'll eat all the barra. But we was talking about, what do you think would be a cool thing to have in the lakes down here as opposed to the trout? Hooch, your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts initially would be that unfortunately in Tasmania we live in a state where everyone just loses their mind without really going down the path of working things out scientifically or in a structured approach. So can you imagine if we suggested introducing a species into Tasmania, a freshwater species? I don't even know what that would be. We'll talk about that more, but I just struggle with it, people's mentality, just knee-jerk reaction about no, no, no. Everything's just no, no, no. But having said that, a lot of people's reaction is based on that mess that was the cane toad. Remember, they introduced the cane toad to the cane beetle, and what a disaster that was. And another one, rabbits. We introduced rabbits. So anything that would be introduced would have to be put through absolute rigorous thought process and scientific thinking. But I don't know. Like, I like the idea of the trevally, and I like the idea of giving it a go. No one's saying in Queensland that they're going to put them in all the impoundments. They're going to trial it, and people are just completely losing their mind about, oh, this is ridiculous. But it's a trial. It's in Kinchant, Kinchant Dam, I think it's called. I don't mind it as a trial. If you don't try things, you never ever find out. They've obviously chosen that dam for a really good reason. So yeah, obviously the other one that was a disaster was carp. Now I'm not sure. I don't know the history on carp, but we know the money and the effort that the fisheries went to in Tasmania to get carp out of our systems, and thank you very much for their efforts, because they did. That would have been a disaster. But yeah, what do you guys reckon? What freshwater species? It'd have to be a temperate, because like our waters get so cold that it wouldn't be able to be a tropical or a northern species. Like,
there's a fish over in Mongolia called a taimen.
Yes.
And we spoke this. I've spoken to a couple of guys about IFS, and they'd be like, "That'd be great, but it's never going to happen." Taimen's like kind of looks like a trout, but they kind of eat trout.
Yep.
So these things are growing well over a metre. They move fast. They fight hard. I've seen some footage of I think it was Fish Bum Diaries many years ago, and they're up there chasing them up in the shallows, and they saw some brown trout, and they were casting these trout, and the next minute these taimen come through and ate the trout they were chasing. Give you a rough idea. That would be, and they're endangered as well. So if you ever to bring anything over and try and create an amazing fishery, that'd be that. Because you imagine going to Crescent catching 10-pound trout, and these taimen come through and eat your trout.
Yeah, that's wild.
I suppose.
Just have a bit of a look.
I suppose the probably more realistic would be like Murray cod, because Murray cod, they're in Victoria, and Victoria and Tassie are relatively similar. Like, the amount of times I've been walking up the gorge or stuff like that, big rocky boulders, flow, lots of food, and I've been thinking, like, watching footage and stuff of people over in Victoria chasing Murray cod, like, there is no way that they wouldn't be able to, get themselves established. Like, obviously they'd feed on trout, but, they'd also feed on redfin and stuff like that. And, like, you look at it, like, you've got, like, a system like Brushy Lagoon, which, it's 30 k's out of Lonnie, landlocked dam, no one really fishes it. Like, it gets stocked once in a blue moon with good-sized Atlantic salmon, and then the locals will go and flog it for a bit. That's about it. Like, that lake doesn't really, it doesn't really do much. Like, it's not, no one's going out of their way to buy a license to go and fish Brushy Lagoon. So, Murray cod is probably, like, imagine being able to, oh, what are you chasing this weekend? Oh, I'm going for Murray cod in, like, one of the lakes. And the other fish too, which probably more, and even, again, more realistic, because it's already been in Tassie, is estuary perch. Because at the moment, they're only sort of in Arthur's River, and, like, they're endangered, so you can't fish for them. So that's obviously another big point. You can't fish for them already, so there'd have to be some extensive work done to put in enough that you could start to fish for them. But, like, I always wanted to go to Arthur's River and do an estuary perch video, but then they made them, like, endangered to fish for, so you can't fish for them when I was, like, 5 years ago. That would probably be about 5 years ago. Yeah, so they're probably the main two that could realistically do it and live and actually, you know, be intriguing enough that someone would go, oh yeah, I actually really want to catch a Murray cod, so I'm going to buy a fishing license to go chase Murray cod this year.
I like that.
Yeah, well, it makes
Some solid thought.
That's it. Would it be a Murray cod or would it be a brushy cod?
Brushy cod. Oh, brushy
Same,
cod.
same.
The
I
old
think if
brushy
we
cod.
had I think if we had a magic wand that, if there wouldn't be any, trouble down the track or cause any issues to any other species, I've just had to think about it while you were talking, and largemouth bass, like that American, they buck a bit of temperature, so largemouth bass or smallmouth bass would be pretty cool to have some big bass all mooching around a bit of a lake somewhere, and get our frog fishing on and all that sort of jazz.
Yeah, good idea.
Never happened though. Never
What
happened in years.
Can you think of anything?
Oh, no. I thought of fish fingers. Watch out, mate.
Cool.
I'll probably do one of those breams.
Get some English bread.
Apparently we're all catching them, so it's only fair.
Love it. Cool.
Well, I've just had a bit of a look on the, and there's things like northern pike,
Of course.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
the muskies, walleye, what else? we got here?
Muskies.
Bluegill sunfish.
That's good.
Too small.
Yeah,
No one's going
but
to fish for
of
them.
course these are all northern hemisphere fish. So absolutely snowball's chance in hell of anyone getting that through.
Well, maybe
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Definitely interesting.
maybe we need to get someone from Inland Fisheries here and we can grill them as to why we can't have something up the lakes. I'm sure they got some good answers.
Yes.
That-
Remember, they tried something in Victoria. They had I think it was a coal-fired power station that used a lot of water to do something, and the process of whatever the water was doing in the coal-fired power station got put into the dam, and that water was heaps warmer than when it went in, so it raised the temperature of the feeder dam at this, and they put barramundi in it.
I remember
in
that, yeah.
Victoria, and it kicked off for a little while, but then of course I think through some sort of reason the dam may have, the power station may have closed down or something. I can't remember now, but that was quite exciting to think that not only were they bringing in a species that was new to an area, they were manipulating the environment so it would survive. So that's a bit trippy.
That's
next
okay.
level.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, but it fell over.
Oh,
But I think that discussion has really, in a roundabout sort of a way, brought something to light that I feel is lacking, and we don't have any strong questions about why. But estuary perch, they were quite strong in a number of rivers in the west. I've heard reports. I don't know factually, but I'll dig. That's another note I might make. Just have a bit of a thing on that about the northwest rivers. I heard they used to be in a few northwest rivers, but yeah, we need to get some sort of feedback as to why we can't have an estuary perch program in which we try to increase the amount of them through some sort of a program. So yeah, I think that's probably the one thing that we can definitely ask of the fisheries. What inland fisheries? What are the issues around trying to increase estuary perch?
Love it. Cool. All right, so we had a few customers come into us and say that they wanted us to do a couple of different segments. One particularly was to pick a lure each week or something along those lines and do a bit of a talk about it. So we thought we'd start off with this little wow boy. We'll put a picture up on the screen so you can have a look at it.
absolutely.
So, we've all got different favourite lures and stuff like this, and this one's got a special place in my heart. This was the liquid gold purple pacey. So gold, purple, nice little looking lure. One thing I'd probably say about it is where it came about was many, many moons ago, I started Liquid Gold as a brand. And we were we wanted to create a lure that was able to be jigged and paused and stopped. So something that worked really, really well. So when you're winding and you pause it and you stop it, it would sit there and just very slowly float. But when you jigged it, it would come off and go like this. Then we also wanted a lure that didn't swim that way, that would also have a traditional sort of swim, say like a Rapala or something like that. So we designed this lure so that if you take the split ring off, tie a loop knot, you'd have that more traditional sort of swim. But if you leave the ring on, you get that real nice little twitchy sort of vibe. And there's a full colour range, but this purple pacey one was named after a really good friend of mine, Matty Pace, who passed away unfortunately many, many years ago. And this was a colour that he designed, and it's sort of taken off now. We've got Atomic do a version of it. I've seen Hawk Sniper do a very similar version of it. So it's starting to come off. I know Fish Australia lures are eventually going to be doing a bit of a similar colour to it. So it's just taken the trout world by storm. They seem to love it, which is kind of cool. So yeah, liquid gold, purple paces. Get them online. I think you can get them at the Fish Australia site. I'm pretty sure. What's the site deal?
So it's just www.fishaustralia.com. So
cool. Fantastic lure. You guys are definitely. If I was going trout fishing, it'd be only cast one lure. This is what it'd be, and it wouldn't matter where it was. Got some awesome sea runners and some cracking fish, especially up at Bronte. It's an absolute cracker up there.
There you go.
Another question, like a few people are asking us about different segments and stuff. If you guys got anything you want us to talk about, please send us a message on Facebook and let us know. In particular, Dean wants to do some recipes and stuff like that. So if you anything you want him to cook up or come up with a really good, simple idea.
Yeah, go wild. We'll figure it out. I mean, this is for you guys as well, as much as we have an absolute laugh. We want to, really reach out and do as best as we can. So if you got a fish you want, planning on catching this upcoming weekend, whatever, we can have an answer of how to cook it, how to drink with it, how to make friends with it, what have you on the coming week. So
a lot of people might not know that Dean's got a very large hospitality background. So he's owned a food truck with me. We used to do a lot of smoked food and stuff like that.
Low and slow, baby.
So if you need to know about pairing wines to your trout, this is the man to talk to.
We're covered.
What about a crispy skin bream recipe?
bream.
Absolutely.
Well, bream would be a good one because not a lot of people really eat them anymore. I remember growing up, bream was the thing. Like you catch them and everyone was eating them. Whereas now the catch and release thing like that, it's not common for people to sort of take them. But they're actually quite a good tasting fish.
I don't think. Actually, no, we did. We went down to. I was only 14, so what was that? 1986 or something, and we were down at Bruny Island, and there was a little tributary there and a little pontoon. There's some big eels in the water, and I was trying to catch the eels with some bait, and I caught this bream. And my uncle, well, he wasn't my uncle at the time. It's just that at that stage, if your dad had a friend, it was just Uncle Barry. Anyway, Uncle Barry said, "Oh, that's a bream. I'll cook that up." And that's about the only one I've eaten from memory. It wasn't too bad, but that was a long time ago, 1986. Could have been absolutely disgusting, and I've forgotten about it. But no, I think it was all right from memory.
Were you born yet, or?
Oh, it's 3 years prior to the wonderful release of Dean to the world. Yeah.
About 30 for me. God.
So, you coming from the sport fishing background, Dylan, you'd have never even thought about eating a bream, surely?
No, not really. I've eaten them before when I was younger. I do remember having one. I don't think because we were just catching and releasing, but we got offered to keep one at Commander River. It was right up the top. Just someone caught one, and it was just gut hooked as hell. So it was like, I'm not going to eat it. Do you want to eat it? So we were like, yeah. We cooked it up, and I think this was even like right early Fish Australia days, and it was like, oh, screw it, we'll just do a catch and cook because we caught a heap, so we'll just say that we caught this one and do a catch and cook to about all 3 subscribers I had back then. And we cooked it up and just cooked her up, blah, 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 didn't even do anything fancy. And we opened it, and the thing was the softest, mushiest thing ever. And then we turned the camera on, and we started to do the whole talk about how we cooked it. And then we sat down, we're like, oh, we'll have a bit. We sat there, we put a bit in our mouth, and we're like, oh yeah, it's not bad. That's gonna be it. We'll see you later. Then went and stopped the recording and just it was just covered it just tasted like mud. And so I mean, sure, if you had them on the flats, out in the salt water, they'd probably taste better. But I've just got PTSD from that once Commander with a brim, and I've never eaten one since.
Well, maybe it sounds like
That's
you
fair.
need your lessons from Dean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
Did you scale it?
I have my doubts that happened.
God, I don't even know if it was a brim. It's probably a bream. Oh dear.
That's
Well,
all right.
guys, I think that's probably coming toward the end of another episode. Unless you boys got anything else to add?
No,
No,
I'm
it's
good.
pretty
Of,
much it.
all this talk of food, I think it's time to cook some tea.
Excellent.
That's
Good
about
idea.
right.
All right, guys.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again. And don't forget to send in your reports as you've got them, and we'll mention them on the show.
Oh,
Get
just
yourself
one
a
more
break.
thing.
Yeah, whoa.
Sorry,
Everyone.
one more
That'd be
thing.
fine.
I did see a bit of a thing in the chat where Dylan was practicing his bubbles. So, not bubbles, his balloons.
Oh, that's right. A little bit of a IT show.
We're going to put me under the pressure. Well, that is going to be it. Episode 5 of Snag Podcast done. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. Let's see if I can... Come on. Don't do this to me. I had him going on cue. And now it's just...
You did.
Nah. It's going downhill. Oh, there we go.
Hey!
Hey!
We'll see you later.
That's